you ready for what?
I want to talk about
What? Popsicle. My hand around my feet.
identity
This is
crisis.
not a popsicle. Popsicle. Popsicle.
Identity crisis. Identity crisis when you don't know who you are.
This is how popsicle.
When you don't know who you are. When you don't know who you are. Your identity. Identity crisis. And I've been thinking like, I lost sight of who I am. I lost sight of who I am, and that's what the enemy does. He messes around and wants you lost in this world and not knowing who you are, or wanting you to forget who you are and who you are in Christ.
Question. You know this way?
Identity crisis.
I put water on it.
And I was sitting here thinking, I was like, I done lost sight of who I am. Who I am and who I am in Christ. And then it made me think of Lion King. The movie Lion King. And how Simba, his uncle, was accusing him. And it made me think of Satan. I seen his uncle, as the accuser, accusing Simba at a young age, accusing him and telling him this and, lying to him. And Simba went off into the wilderness not knowing who he was. So here he was in the wilderness, lost in the wilderness with no sense of who he truly was. He lost his identity. He didn't know who he was. He didn't know who he was. He didn't know who his father was. He lost his identity. So here he was, and here he was a lion. Here he was a king. And yet he didn't know who he was or who his father was. And he out in the wilderness lost. All because of what the accuser done said and what the accuser done put in his ear. And he done ran off not knowing who he was. He lost his identity. And it made me think of that.
That hurt it already.
And I think a lot of us lost sense of who we are and who we are in Christ. We lost sense of who we are and who we are in Christ. And I think we fail to realize what, oh my God, it's heavy. We fail to realize who we are in Christ. That we're no longer, I lost sight that I'm no longer old self. That when God sees me, he doesn't even see me. That when he sees me, he sees Christ. When we go into prayer, God don't even see us. He sees Christ. So that itself shows that we've been viewing ourselves wrong, that we've been walking around wrong, we've been praying wrong, we've been no expectations because we haven't been viewing ourselves right. Like I said, identity crisis. Identity crisis. A lot of us identity crisis. When you lost sight of who you are and who you are in Christ. That when you know that when Christ died for you, that you yourself was put on the cross and you took his life. You're clothed in Christ. I'm clothed in Christ. I'm clothed in Christ. That means, wait a minute. And the same spirit that raised Jesus from the dead lives on the inside of me. A lot of us we forget that part. The same spirit that raised Christ from the dead lives on the inside of me. And a lot of time we still view ourselves as old self. We still view ourselves or see ourselves as old self, and not realizing that we are a new we are a new creature. We are a new creation in Christ, and the old has passed away, and we are the same spirit that raised Jesus from the dead lives on the inside of me. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. It makes you think. The same spirit that raised Jesus from the dead, the same spirit that raised Jesus from the dead lives on the inside of me. And not realize that we can do more than what we think we can do. We can be more than we are being. Why? Because the same spirit that raised Jesus from the dead lives on the inside of me. My thing is,